Secretary, I want to thank you for giving us a play-by-play of what happened in Tunisia. Could you do the same thing of what happened in Benghazi? Could you tell us the same kind of play-by-play that who came to the rescue there? Because I don't know of anybody that did. So I don't know who you called and their lack of ability to get anybody there. It's just hard for me to comprehend why you would give us that blow-by-blow of something that we're not even investigating here, but we appreciate it. But I do want to ask you.
Well, Congressman, if I could,
sure.
Several of you have raised the video and have dismissed the importance of the video. And I think that is unfortunate, because there's no doubt. And as I said earlier, even the person we have now arrested as being one of the ringleaders of the attack on our compound in Benghazi is reputed to have used the video as a way to gather up the attackers that attacked our compound. So I think it's important. These are complex issues, Mr. Congressman, and I think it's important that we look at the totality of what was going on. Like that terrible incident that happened in Paris. Cartoons sparked 2 Al-Qaeda trained attackers who killed, nearly a dozen people. I think it's important that as you are members of Congress looking into these issues, that you look at the totality so we can learn the best lessons to try to.
Yes, ma'am. Well, reclaiming my time, let me ask you about a little thing. You said that you spent a lot of sleepless nights, and I can't imagine. And you said you often wondered what you could have done different. What did you come up with?
Oh, a long list, Congressman.
Just give me your top 2.
Well, to go back to the point that Congresswoman Duckworth was raising about contractors, if we'd had a more reliable security force in large enough numbers, well-armed and well-focused on protecting our compound.
What could you have done different than what you did do?
Well, I'm trying to tell you. I think if the militia that had been engaged by both the CIA and the State Department had been more reliable.
But you didn't have anything to do with that, you said.
But I made a long list, Congressman, about anything that anybody could have done. And that's how I looked at it. I looked at it from the perspective of what are the many pieces. Contracting is a part of that. There are many other issues that we need to address. That's really the main reason I'm here, to continue to try to do what I can to honor those who were lost and to make sure that we are well prepared to try to prevent. Now, we know we can't prevent everything. That's the way the world is. But to do the very best we can, and there are many elements that go into that.
Contractors would be number 1. What would be number 2?
Well, if there had, I don't think that's an point. We had a militia. We had an unarmed static force that probably couldn't have done much more. It should, I think, inspire us to look for ways to get host countries to permit there to be more dedicated security forces, well enough armed and trained to be really a force to protect our compounds and our other facilities. That would have perhaps made a difference.
Okay.
It certainly, might have made a difference if we had more help from the CIA there on the compound, if maybe we had a rotating presence. But I have to say, in reviewing a lot of the analyses that have been made by security experts, very well-trained, experienced security people, they're not sure that anything would have stopped the attackers. And I know that Admiral Mullen, when he went into his work for the ARB, was concerned that none of the diplomatic security officers had fired a shot. They had their weapons, they hadn't fired a shot.
I'm not trying to cut you off, and I've tried to be nice, and you're doing well. We both talk slow, so let's give each other a little breathing room here. You talked about Miss Victoria Nuland. You know her, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay. This was her briefing on September the 13th. Some reporter named Elise had asked her a question about the security, And her response was, "I'm going to reject that, Elise. Let me tell you what I can about the security of our mission in Benghazi. It did include a local Libyan guard force around the outer perimeter. That guard force never showed up that night, and it did not normally patrol the outer perimeter. The only people that patrolled the outer perimeter was the unarmed Blue Mountain." But she said, "This is the way we work in all of our missions, all around the world, that the outer perimeter is responsibility of the host government," which there wasn't really a host government at the time. There was obviously a physical perimeter barrier, a wall, and then there was a robust American security presence inside the compound. I don't think 5 DS agents not fully equipped or armed for what they were facing, you could call a robust American security presence?
Well,
Would you have used the word robust?
I would certainly have said that the security on that night was reliant on a militia that did not perform as had been expected.
I'm not talking about the militia on the outside. I'm talking about the robust American presence on the inside.
It was considered robust in the sense that the request had been for 5 diplomatic security officers to accompany the ambassador. There were 5 there. And they did, as I have testified to, the very best they could. They were armed. And in the course of the thorough investigation conducted by the Accountability Review Board, as I was saying, Admiral Mullen zeroed in on this, having more than 40 years experience in the military. And he wanted to know why the DS agents had not fired their weapons. And they explained, as many since have heard who have interviewed them, their assessment was that it would have resulted in the loss of even greater life. Chose not to, and Admiral Mullen reached the conclusion that they acted appropriately. So even though we had the 5 DS agents that had been requested, they were overrun and unable to do more than they did.
They were overrun because they didn't have any defensive positions to fight from, because they refused to give them additional sandbags because they did not want it to look like a military compound. I've heard that testimony. I want to ask you about the FEST. Are you familiar with the FEST?
Yes.
What is the FEST, Madam Secretary?
It is an emergency support team to help stand up embassies that have, or consulates or other facilities that have been impacted by either natural disasters or some kind of attacks. Exactly.
Kidnapping. And where are they located?
They're located in the United States.
At Langley Air Force Base?
I'm not sure of where they're located now.
They're there. And it's an interagency task force. Includes the FBI, I guess the DOD, and the State Department. And if you look at the State Department website, FEST comes up under that. So I'm assuming that you are the lead in those agencies.
It's an interagency effort.
Okay. But it was deployed in 1998 in Kenya, correct? After the embassy bombing there of the towers, and to Tanzania, correctly?
That's correct.
They were there, ready to go on short notice. They said they could have been ready in 4 hours to leave. And this is the group of people that would go into a situation, as you described, when an embassy had been overrun, attacked, kidnapping, or whatever, to basically give guidance to any of the other forces or help that was coming in. And I know that your staff, and we've got a number of emails from your staff, that originally recommended that you send the FEST team. And I think they may have talked to Mr. Sullivan, or it was somebody that got an email, and they said they would pass it up the chain. And somebody made the decision not to send the FEST team